and then placed in the bronze bust likeness of himself located on the side of the monument. Now, other stories report that Brewer requested glass eyes to match his own and have them placed in the statue so that he could kind of keep an eye on things even in death. Now, regardless, many people report feeling watched when they are near the Brewer marker, and some say the head is moved. Now, there are other reports of mists and wispy things passing by in the cemetery and the sounds of approaching footsteps. So I think that would be a very, very eerie and creepy place to visit. And I've only seen photos of that statue, and the photos themselves look pretty, pretty creepy. Now, I would say let's move on from Ohio to some other cemeteries. Excuse me. In some other locations. We have, oh, allergies are flaring up tonight. Sorry, folks. Wow. We have Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia. Bonaventure Cemetery is a public cemetery located on a scenic bluff of the Wilmington River east of Savannah, Georgia. Now, this cemetery, it became famous when it was featured in the 1994 novel Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt. And, pardon me, and in this a movie that was directed by Clint Eastwood. And the movie was based on the book. Now, it's the largest of the city's municipal cemeteries, containing nearly 160 acres. Now, in the early years of the land that now serves as a cemetery, there was an immense plantation constructed there. This home was owned by the well-liked Joshua Tatnall Jr., and this man was known for social functions that he would hold at his estate. He was well liked among the citizens that lived in the area. Well, one night, the immense mansion caught fire. And in today's cemetery, many individuals who have visited the area, they state that dinner parties still seem to occur. Individuals can hear the voices of people socializing and having a good time. Now, there has been many paranormal investigators that have went to the area to investigate to see if they can hear the parties going on and stuff. And they do. And they think it's a residual type of haunting, which means that it's like an energy recording in time, like a timestamp. But nonetheless, these occurrences still frighten visitors of the haunted cemetery. There has also been several reports of people seeing and hearing a pack of ghostly dogs. Some have reported to be followed and even chased by these dogs. But the most famous gravesite in the Bonaventure Cemetery is that of little Gracie Watson. And it's according to the plaque that's at Gracie's grave. She's a beautiful and charming little girl, and she died of pneumonia at the age of 6 in 1889. Legend has it that Gracie now haunts the striking statue that was carved in her honor using a photograph. And so this statue looks just like her. Many visitors leave coins and toys at Gracie's grave, and some say the little girl cries whenever somebody removes any of the trinkets. Now, others say tears of blood flow from the statue's eyes. Some report that in the cold of winter, when the moon is full, Her cheeks are warm on the statue. Bonaventure officials, they have fenced off Gracie's grave to protect it from visitors' grasping hands because her nose has been kind of chipped at some point in the past. But of course, some say that they put the fence around to contain her playful spirit. Now, I do have a picture of this grave monument on our Ghost Talk Facebook page, and it's just a very beautiful monument there they have of Gracie. Now, moving on to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. This is in Bremen Township, Illinois. It's actually an abandoned cemetery, and it's at the south side of Chicago. Now, the land that surrounds Bachelor's Grove Cemetery was originally settled by English homesteaders. And with that, I tell you what, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more Ghost Talk. You're listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
23 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. If you just tuned in, I invite you all to join us at chat at WBHM-DB.com, where you can ask me any questions you may have, and you can also tell me a little bit of your experiences with haunted cemeteries. If you missed the first part of the show, no worries. You can catch the show archive on Spreaker, Google Play, and iTunes at your leisure. And I want to take a moment to remind everyone that the places I am talking about this evening are indeed real cemeteries, in which case most are accessible during the day. However, most are not at night. So if you plan to visit any of the locations on tonight's show, please get proper permissions, as trespassing is against the law and could get you arrested and get you a hefty fine. Prior to the break, I start talking about Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, and that's at the south side of Chicago. Now we have Ariel Grace, who is in chat. She said she's been to Bachelor's Grove, and it's very creepy. Now, I started talking about the land being originally settled by English homesteaders. who relocated to that area from England. Now, the cemetery itself saw its first official burials around 1840, and it contains 82 plots, many of which were never sold or used. Now, the burials, however, possibly go back to as far as like maybe 1834 when German immigrant workers were killed while they were working on the Illinois and Michigan Canal. Some people believe the cemetery, which dates back to the 1830s, was a popular spot for 1930s gangsters to dump their victims. There have been several ghost sightings of various kinds over the years. Now, the most common of the reported phenomenon at the site, it typically involves floating orbs of light over tombstones and near collisions with a phantom vehicle. It's like people report seeing a vehicle and almost hitting it, and then it disappears. Now, others claim to have seen various residents of the cemetery walking around at night, including very upset gangsters. Now, I think that would be quite a sight to see ghostly gangsters walking through the cemetery. But there was also a photo of a woman sitting on a grave, and the notable photograph, it ran in the Chicago Sun-Times. It reportedly showed a transparent woman sitting on a tombstone, and the apparition was not visible when the photograph was taken way back then. And I had got a look at that old photo. If you search up online, you can actually find it, and it's pretty eerie. Okay, so this next one is pretty interesting, and it is Boot Hill Cemetery, and it's in Tombstone, Arizona. That's right, Tombstone, Arizona. Now, it's actually a ghost town cemetery and the resting place of some of the most notorious outlaws of the Wild West, okay? Boot Hill Cemetery was established in Tombstone, Arizona around 1879. It was closed in 1884 when a new cemetery was opened. Now, before it closed, however, it saw burials of approximately 300 people, many who died tragically and unexpectedly or with their boots on. And as you can imagine, that's how it got its name. Now, after its official closure, a few outlaws, among others, were allowed to be buried there. The plot features the graves of Billy Clanton, Frank McLaury, and Tom McLaury, the three men who were actually killed during the famed gunfight at the OK Corral. It was used after that only to bury a few later outlaws. Some legally hanged, and there was this other guy who was shot during a robbery. Now, as well as a few colorful Western characters, I will tell you, there was this man, Emmett Crook Nunnally. He spent a ton of time, many volunteer hours restoring this ghost town cemetery. He's actually also buried there. Another thing that's interesting about this cemetery is in 1996, this guy named Terry Ike Clanton, now he is an actual descendant of the Clanton gang. He was visiting a cemetery, the cemetery, with a friend, and this man was named Kelly, who lived in Southern California. Now, it's quite amazing, and this photo's been floating all around too. Clanton took Kelly's picture dressed in full 1880s Western garb against, the backdrop of the beautiful mountains there and the fields with what looked like, the tumbleweed kind of picture you can imagine. Now, he positioned his friend Kelly to the left of this photo in order to get a really good view of the mountains. Now, he shot this in black and white film, so it'd have a really authentic feel for the photograph. Now, when the film was developed, what appeared to be in this picture was a gentleman wearing a black hat